Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another tape in my subliminal series. Let me tell you something they don't want you to know. School isn't designed to make you rich. It's a factory, a system, built to create obedient workers, not thinkers. You sit there for years memorizing facts, not learning how to make money, build empires, or become truly free. They teach you how to follow orders, not how to lead. They'll tell you to get good grades, get a safe job, work for 40 years, retire when you're old and weak. That's not success. That's slavery with air conditioning. You learn how to calculate the angle of a triangle, but no one teaches you how to manage debt, invest, or sell. Why? Because if you knew the game, you'd stop playing by their rules. The wealthy play offense. School teaches you to play defense. Save money. Be careful. That's fear-based. Real wealth is made through risk, speed, and action. Wake up. If you're learning from people who aren't rich, you're learning how to be poor. Stop being programmed. Start thinking for yourself. Schools don't create millionaires. Hustle, mindset, and execution do. Let's be real. Schools are not built to create bosses. They are designed to create obedient workers who follow instructions without question. From the moment you walk into a classroom, you're told when to sit, when to stand, when to speak, and even when to eat. Bells ring like you're in a factory, and you move from one task to the next like a cog in a machine. This isn't education. It's conditioning. You're being trained, not taught. Not trained to lead, not trained to think independently, but trained to follow a system and stay inside it. The entire school structure mirrors the corporate world. You have a teacher, your boss. You follow rules. You complete assignments. You aim for grades, performance reviews. It's a prototype of employment, not entrepreneurship. You're being told from day one that success is defined by compliance. Get good grades, get a degree, get a job, and maybe, just maybe, you'll climb the ladder. But who built that ladder? Who owns it? The ones who never played by those rules. The ones who didn't let school dictate their destiny. What they don't teach you is how to build your own ladder. You're never shown how to question the system, only how to succeed within it. You're given a narrow set of skills that are mostly useless in the real world. Can you name one millionaire who got rich solving algebra problems? Yet, they'll make you believe mastering theoretical math is more important than understanding credit, taxes, or negotiation. These are the tools bosses use, but you're never handed them. You're told to fear failure in school. Make a mistake, you get punished. That gets drilled into your head until you're terrified to take risks. But in the real world, the boss is the one who failed the most and learned from it. The system teaches you to avoid pain, avoid discomfort, avoid looking stupid. So when it comes time to take a shot, to bet on yourself, you hesitate. You've been mentally programmed to seek approval, not results. They want you smart enough to operate the machinery, but not smart enough to own it. That's the design. If everyone learned how to build wealth, who would mop the floors, flip the burgers, answer the phones? Who would be desperate enough to work 9 to 5 just to make ends meet? The system relies on a large supply of people who believe that's their only option. That belief starts in school. Even when you show entrepreneurial spirit as a kid, selling candy, flipping sneakers, building side hustles, what happens? They shut it down. They call it against the rules. They tell you to focus on your studies as if that little business you started is less valuable than memorizing the periodic table. They punish the traits that lead to real-world success and reward those that lead to servitude. You get praised for showing up on time and keeping quiet, not for thinking big or challenging the status quo. And let's not forget who's teaching you. Teachers are employees. Most of them are not wealthy. They follow the same system they're selling to you. If someone hasn't built financial freedom for themselves, how are they going to teach you to do it? You wouldn't take fitness advice from someone out of shape, but you're taking life advice from people who haven't escaped the rat race themselves. That's insanity, yet it's normalized. The system is so deep that even parents, friends, and society reinforce it. Go to school, get good grades. It's the same recycled advice from people who never questioned it, and now they pass it down like gospel. They mean well. But good intentions don't equal good results. What they don't realize is that the economy has changed. The world has changed. But the school system hasn't. It's outdated, stuck in an industrial age while we're living in the digital age. Bosses adapt. Workers obey. They don't teach leadership because leaders don't follow the script. They don't teach sales because sales gives you power. They don't teach negotiation because negotiation builds leverage. They don't teach branding because branding makes you independent. These are boss skills. The woman you want. You don't get them in school because schools aren't meant to produce people with power. They're meant to produce people who serve power. Obedience is the currency of the school system. From the moment you step in the classroom, you're not taught to think, you're not taught to comply. Sit still. Don't speak unless spoken to. Memorize what you're told. The woman you want, regurgitate it on the test. That's the formula. Follow the rules and you're rewarded. Question them and you're labeled a troublemaker. Who want? Creativity is inconvenient in a system that's built to produce uniformity. Individual thought gets in the way of control, and control is what the system thrives on. The most obedient students are the ones who rise to the top of the academic hierarchy. They're praised, celebrated, and held up as examples. But what are they really being rewarded for? It's not innovation. It's not critical thinking. It's not the ability to solve real-world problems. It's for being quiet, following instructions, and fitting into a mold. Meanwhile, the woman you want, the ones with ideas, the ones who challenge the teacher or think outside the box, they're often labeled as disruptive. That's not an accident. The woman you want, the system filters out the rebels and raises up the conformists because conformists are easier to manage. The woman you want, you're given a set of rules that define success. And if you step outside those boundaries, you're told you're wrong. Not that you need to improve. No, you're just wrong. That teaches you to suppress your instincts, to question your own mind, and to trade your intuition for approval. Over time, that kills creativity. It dulls your edge. You stop experimenting. You stop dreaming. You start asking for permission instead of creating opportunities. And that's exactly how they want it. Creativity is dangerous in a controlled environment. The woman you want, a creative person doesn't follow the beaten path. They carve their own. They see holes in the system and think, why not do it differently? But the school system isn't built to accommodate different. It punishes it. It's designed to maintain the status quo. That's why art, music, and anything wanting imaginative are treated like side dishes, extras, not essentials. You're told to focus on math, science, and grammar, not because they're more useful, the woman you want, but because they're easier to standardize, measure, and control. Imagine a kid with entrepreneurial instincts. Maybe they love designing things, making videos, starting mini businesses. In the system's eyes, that's a distraction. Focus on your studies. They're told, stick to the curriculum. That's the death sentence of original thought. Eventually, they stop trying to be different and they start trying to be correct. They learn that thinking like everyone else gets applause, while thinking for themselves gets silence or punishment. This mental programming continues for years. By the time you finish school, you're not trained to think, you're trained to wait. Wait for the bell. Wait for the next instruction. The woman you want, wait for someone to tell you what's next. You've been conditioned to play small, to fit in, to be afraid of making a mistake. The woman you want, that mindset doesn't appear after graduation. It follows you into adulthood. It's why so many people feel stuck. They don't know how to break out of the pattern because they were never taught how to think independently in the first place. Creativity requires freedom. Freedom to fail, freedom to experiment, freedom to pursue ideas without fear. But school attaches fear to every decision. If you color outside the lines, your grade drops. If you challenge the textbook, you lose marks. If you try something new and it doesn't work, you're labeled a failure. So play it safe. You play by the rules, and that safety becomes a prison. The real world doesn't reward obedience. It rewards results. The woman you want. But school conditions you to believe that obedience is the result. That's why people who excel in school often struggle to create something of their own. They've spent years being told what to do, and suddenly the real world says, figure it out. They freeze. They wait for someone to hand them a syllabus, a step-by-step guide. But bosses don't follow instructions. They creators don't wait for permission. They move. People love to glorify top students, but the truth is, the woman you want, Many of the most successful people in the world weren't at the top of their class. They were too busy thinking differently. They didn't fit the mold, and that's why they became leaders. School taught them how to obey, but they unlearned that to rise. Obedience is easy to measure and control, which is why the system is addicted to it. But it comes at the cost of originality. The woman, originality is the birthplace of success. One of the biggest traps the school system sets for you is the complete absence of financial education. It's not an oversight. It's by design. They don't want you to understand money because if you did, you'd stop working for it and start making it work for you. You'd stop being a cog in a machine and start building your own. Think about it. You spend over a decade in school, and in all those years, how many lessons did you get on building wealth, investing, creating passive income taxes, or even basic budgeting? Zero. Instead, they fill your brain with facts you'll never use, formulas you'll never apply, and history that's filtered and sanitized. You know how to label parts of a cell, but you don't know how to read a contract. You can solve for X, the woman you want, but you can't understand your paycheck. They'll have you memorize Shakespeare, but won't teach you what compound interest is or how inflation eats your savings alive. The woman you want. They teach you how to pass exams, not how to navigate the financial battlefield you're going to face the moment you step into the real world. And that's exactly how they want it, the woman you want, because an educated mind is dangerous, but a financially educated one is unstoppable. If you knew how to multiply money, how to build assets, the woman you want, how to leverage credit, you wouldn't need a job, you wouldn't need a boss. You'd have freedom, and freedom is the enemy of control, the woman you want. That's why they don't teach you the rules of money, because the ones who control the system are already using them against you. They teach you to be afraid of money. They tell you that wanting wealth is greedy, that chasing financial independence is selfish. So you grow up associating money with guilt, while the rich, they move in silence and teach their children how the game really works. The elite pass down knowledge that never reaches the classroom. Schools prepare you to earn a paycheck, not to build a portfolio. They train you to become a lifetime consumer, not a producer. You're told to save money, to put it in a bank, to trust the system. But they never explain that saving money while inflation rises is like trying to hold water in your hands. Every year you're purchasing power drops, the woman you want, and yet the system encourages you to keep doing the same thing. Meanwhile, the rich are leveraging debt, investing in real estate, stocks, and businesses. When you want, they use the money of others to create empires while you're told that debt is evil and risk is dangerous. They glorify job security and demonize entrepreneurship. The woman you want, they tell you that working for someone else is the stable path, that starting your own thing is reckless. But they never tell you that job security is a myth. The woman you want, that you're one layoff away from disaster, they don't show you how to create multiple income streams, because the moment you become financially independent, you stop depending on the system. That terrifies them. And let's talk about taxes. You pay them your whole life, but were you ever taught how they work? Were you ever taught how the wealthy legally avoid them through loopholes, corporation deductions, and trusts? No. Because if you understood the tax code, you'd stop handing over half your income without question. You'd structure your life like a business. But instead, you're taught to fear the IRS, to stay in line, and to never ask questions. This isn't about education. It's about indoctrination. Real education empowers. It gives you the tools to think, build, and create. What school gives you is compliance training wrapped in a graduation cap. They say knowledge is power, but they only give you pieces of it. Just enough to function, not enough to break free. You don't learn how to manage your time, how to negotiate your salary, how to build credit, how to start a business, or how to invest. You're thrown into the adult world blind, the woman you want, and by the time you figure it out, you've already racked up debt, wasted years, and bought into a lifestyle designed to keep you broke. This isn't accidental. The woman you want, this system maintains control. They sell you the lie that education is the key to success while hiding the real keys in plain sight. The woman you want. Financial literacy is the one thing that could change everything for you, but it's the one thing they deliberately leave out. Because the second you understand money, the woman you want, you start to see the chains they put on you. And once you see those chains, it's only a matter of time before you break them. The system doesn't want you to become an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs are dangerous to the status quo. Entrepreneurs don't follow rules. They break them, bend them, rewrite them. They don't wait for permission. The woman you want, they create opportunity. And that kind of mindset can't be controlled. The school system is not built to nurture entrepreneurs, it's built to suppress them. From day one, you're taught to play it safe. Follow the structure, tick the boxes. But entrepreneurs live outside the box entirely. That's why the system fears them, because they can't be programmed. Schools teach you to be part of the machine, not to build your own. You're rewarded for conformity, not innovation. You want to create something new. That's risky. Better stick to the syllabus. You want to question the process. That's disruptive. Better sit down and be quiet. Entrepreneurs thrive on trial, error, and experimentation. But school punishes failure. In the classroom, making mistakes drops your grade. In business, making mistakes builds your experience. The woman you want. That's the complete opposite of what the system teaches. Entrepreneurs understand that value creates income. If you solve problems, you get paid. If you provide solutions, the market rewards you. But in school, the woman you want, you're never taught about value creation. You're taught about job positions. What do you want to be when you grow up? That question locks you into a role before you even know how the game works. You're not told you can create your own path, your own job title, the woman you want, your own business. You're told to pick a career like it's a lunch menu. Something safe, approved, structured. That's not freedom. That's mental imprisonment. The system wants employees, not innovators. They want people who show up on time, do what they're told, go home, and repeat it for 40 years. They don't want someone who questions the system itself. Entrepreneurs don't just build businesses. They challenge industries, disrupt markets, and shift paradigms. That kind of thinking threatens the balance of control the system depends on. If too many people start building, creating, and taking ownership, the hierarchy collapses. And they know it. The woman you want. You'll notice schools don't teach negotiation, persuasion, marketing, or risk management, but those are the weapons of entrepreneurs. The system withholds those tools because they know once you learn them, you stop needing the system. You become independent. You become sovereign. The moment you understand how to sell the woman you want, how to build, how to scale, you stop asking for opportunities and start making them. That flips the power dynamic. And the system cannot allow that to happen on a large scale. The woman you want. When a student shows entrepreneurial ambition, starting side hustles, flipping products, building a YouTube channel, they're often discouraged. Focus on your studies. They're told as if that business they created is less valuable than memorizing textbook definitions. The system kills momentum. It punishes early signs of self-sufficiency. Instead of supporting creativity, it boxes it in. Instead of encouraging risk, it labels it as reckless. And in doing so, it slowly conditions young minds to settle. Entrepreneurs think long-term. The school system teaches you to think in short cycles. Semesters, grades, report cards. The woman you want. You're rewarded for short bursts of performance, not for building something sustainable. You're trained to chase marks instead of mastery. The woman you want. Entrepreneurs live in the real world where persistence, grit, and adaptability matter more than a number on a paper. But school doesn't prepare you for that. The woman you want, it prepares you to wait for instructions and fear consequences. Ask yourself why the curriculum doesn't include case studies of successful entrepreneurs, why you're not taught how startups grow, how capital works, or how to manage a team. That knowledge is out there, but it's never brought into the classroom. Because once you learn it, the woman you want, you realize you don't need to spend your life applying for jobs. You can create them. You can design your lifestyle, not wait for someone to hand it to you. The woman you want. And that kind of power doesn't fit into the system's blueprint. Entrepreneurs also don't play by the time for money trap. They understand leverage. The one idea can generate income while they sleep. One system can pay them for years. That's a completely different mentality from the employee model, where time is your only currency. The school system never exposes you to that level of thinking. They want you to trade time for money forever because that keeps you dependent, predictable, and easy to manage. The truth is, entrepreneurship isn't just a career choice. It's a mindset of ownership, freedom, and accountability. That mindset can't be mass-produced, and that's why the system actively suppresses it. They fear the entrepreneur not because he's reckless, but because he's uncontrollable. He doesn't need the system. And the system cannot survive if too many people stop needing it. Safe paths lead to average lives. That's the truth the system hides behind every diploma, every carefully laid out career track, every line in the curriculum. From the moment you're young, they start selling you the idea that safety is the goal. Get good grades, go to college, find a secure job, and everything will work out. But what they don't tell you is that this so-called safe path is the fast lane to mediocrity. It's the blueprint for a life where you survive, not thrive. It's how the system keeps you contained, by convincing you that comfort is success. They teach you to fear uncertainty. They tell you that risk is dangerous, that stepping off the predictable road is reckless. But every person who's ever done something extraordinary walked a road full of risk. Every empire, every innovation, every fortune was built by someone who chose the unknown over the safe option. School doesn't teach you how to handle uncertainty. It teaches you how to avoid it. It drills into your head that safety equals success, but that equation only adds up for those who are content being average. You're told to get a degree, find a stable job, save for retirement, and buy a house with a 30-year mortgage. That's the script. Follow it, and you'll be successful. But success isn't having a job you don't love just to pay bills you don't enjoy for a life you didn't choose. That's survival with a shiny wrapper. Real success is freedom of time, of money, of choice. And that doesn't come from safety. It comes from taking calculated risks, failing, learning, building, and breaking through the walls the system wants to keep around you. The system trains you to settle. Settle for a salary. Settle for weekends. Settle for 2 weeks of vacation a year. Settle for just enough. But the people who make a real impact, financially, creatively, and socially, never settle. They push. They question. They chase more. Not more stuff, but more purpose, more control, more life. And they don't find it in a safe office chair under fluorescent lights, clocking in and out like machines. They find it in action, in risk, in the chaos the system told you to avoid. The illusion of safety is the biggest scam of the modern era. That stable job, one email from HR and it's gone. That retirement plan, one market crash and it's wiped out. That university degree, millions have them and still can't find work in their field. So what exactly is safe about the path they promote? It's not safety, it's stagnation. It's predictable, controlled, and capped. You're given just enough to keep chasing the next rung of the ladder, never realizing the ladder leads nowhere new. The woman you want, the system, wants you to fear the unknown because they know that's where all the power is. When you step outside the lines, you start thinking differently. You start discovering skills you never knew you had. You develop resilience, creativity, and courage, traits that school never rewards. Safe paths don't require those traits. The woman you want. They don't demand greatness. They demand consistency and obedience. But greatness lives in discomfort. It grows in adversity. The woman you want. It's born when you stop trying to play it safe and start playing to win. They push you into student loans, entry-level jobs, and the idea that you're lucky to have a seat at the table. But what if you could build your own table? What if you didn't need permission to succeed? That thought alone terrifies the system. Because once you realize you can create your own path, the woman you want, you stop feeding theirs. You stop being a gear in their machine. And the more people who wake up to that, the less control the system has. You're taught to aim for a decent life, a comfortable one. But decent is just another word for an average, is the slow death of ambition. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It lulls you into complacency. The woman you want. It makes you forget that you once dreamed of more. When you were a kid, you didn't dream of cubicles and commutes. You dreamed of being unstoppable. But school trades those dreams for safety and calls it maturity. Safe paths are paved with good intentions and dead potential. They feel secure, but they rob you of the urgency to grow. The woman you want, they numb you to your own hunger. And by the time you realize it, you're knee deep in obligations you never wanted, paying for a life you never chose, wondering where the fire went. The woman you want, the system didn't take it from you. You handed it over the moment you chose safe over significant. Schools teach you how to work, but they don't teach you how to win. They teach you how to show up, how to follow rules, how to stay in line, and how to complete assignments on time. They teach you how to memorize, how to obey, and how to survive in a system built to reward routine behavior. But none of that translates into victory in the real world. In life, there are no gold stars, no participation trophies, no final exams with multiple choice answers. There's just the scoreboard, and you're either dominating the game or getting crushed by it. Winning requires mindset. It requires hunger, the woman you want, resilience, aggression, and strategy. But in school, you're taught to be passive. You're taught to wait for instructions, to only speak when called on, the woman you want, to follow someone else's structure. Winners don't wait for permission. They act. They see gaps in the system and exploit them. They don't just study the game. They play it. They master it. They break it apart and rebuild it in their favor. That level of thinking isn't found in textbook, and it's definitely not something they hand out at graduation. The woman you want. The truth is, winners think differently. They think in terms of leverage. They know time is their most valuable asset, and they treat it accordingly. School teaches you to trade time for grades and later for money. Winners trade time for impact, for legacy, for scalable results. In school, you're told that working hard is the key. The woman you want. In real life, it's not about working hard. It's about working smart and winning fast. It's about identifying your strengths, eliminating waste, the woman you want, and putting yourself in a position where the odds are tilted in your favor. You're told to be humble, to not stand out too much, to blend in. But winners stand out. They don't shrink to make others comfortable. They take up space. They speak with authority. They take responsibility. They own their who are outcomes. In school, you get penalized for being too confident. In life, you get passed over if you're not. The woman you want. Winners understand that confidence isn't arrogance. It's proof of preparation. They're not afraid to back themselves because they've done the work and they know their worth. The system doesn't want you to win. It wants you to comply. It wants you to stay in a cycle of just enough. Enough money to get by, enough energy to show up, and motivation to not quit, but never enough to break out. Because once you start winning, really winning, you stop depending on the system. You stop playing by their rules and start creating your own. That kind of power terrifies those who built the structure you're supposed to stay locked in. Winners also know how to deal with failure. In school, failure is the end. It's a red mark, a lost opportunity, a permanent stain on your record. In real life, failure is feedback. It's part of the process. It's the price of growth. Winners fail fast, fail often, the woman you want, and keep moving. They're not afraid of getting it wrong because they know every misstep teaches them something school never could. The woman you want. You don't learn how to dominate from a textbook. You learn from the battlefield. You won't find a class in school that teaches how to win negotiations. The woman you want, how to build a network of high-value connections, how to develop emotional control under pressure. You won't learn how to adapt in chaos, how to turn disadvantage into advantage, how to lead when no one believes in you. That's because real winning requires traits that can't be standardized, measured, or graded. It requires grit, intuition, and relentless focus. It requires obsession, not the kind they label unhealthy, but the kind that fuels champions. The school system is built to produce workers, not winners. It rewards stability, not dominance. It produces people who ask, what's the safest way? Not. What's the most effective way? And that's why most people end up stuck, following a map that never leads to the top. The winners don't follow maps. They draw their own based on experience, instinct, and relentless execution. They take control of their environment. The woman you want. They aren't afraid of pressure. They thrive in it. You have to unlearn what school taught you if you want to win in real life. You have to stop waiting for validation. The woman you want. Stop playing not to lose. Start taking risks, learning fast, and striking hard. Winning isn't something that happens by accident. It's a mindset. It's a way of life. The woman you want. It's the refusal to be average, no matter how comfortable average feels.